Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another action-packed episode of Pig's Ear in Review, one of the only shows where we're actually discussing the games we play, everything we've been watching, and even some things that we've been reading, believe it or not. So, my name is My Stuff, and I'm here as always with Riku Rose.
All right.
So, today, the topics on the docket. Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition. I think I got that one right.
Yep.
Peacemaker TV series, the Pentaverate TV series. I think I also said that right. And then for the first on the show, something I was reading, which is Death Note short stories, which just came out. So we got a bit of a mixed, all sorts of things this week. But otherwise, before we get into that, you doing all right?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. The wife's been away on a bachelorette party, so that's been
Fun.
nice.
Nice. So you have some time to just hang out, of course, with the new dog, the new Tojo Dojo dog, of course.
Yeah, Cloud.
Cloud, yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm still 30 hours into Elden Ring, and I don't know how close or not close I am to finishing that.
I imagine that's more to do with skill than actual how far you are into the game, because you could get stuck on someone for like 10 hours.
I guess that's technically true. Fortunately, I haven't been stuck on anyone for that long, but there's been a couple areas where I had to just walk away. I should say gallop away on my horse to a different area. But
it's like a relationship that's not working. You just got to know when to walk away.
Just to call it quits and then jump off a cliff.
The kids.
Exactly. It's really teaching me a lot of life lessons, I think, is what I'm coming to find out.
That's what Miyazaki wanted.
Exactly. He's really a life coach more than anything, and it's a lot of this pain that really is going to form me who I am as a person. It's been great. All right, so let's just get right into it then. Over to you for Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition. So, are you a radical dreamer now?
Oh, totally. Because this game originally came out in the 90s when everything was radical. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, when they were hanging down the skate park and they decided to make this game.
Exactly.
I have never played this game before. It never actually had come out in Europe before.
Really?
Yeah, it came out in Japan and the US, but Europe never got it. So I never even had the chance to play it before, like, legally.
Okay.
So, Chrono Trigger, I'm a big Square JRPG fan, so it's always been one that's been on my list.
Okay.
Now, I never see the problems other people see with, like, performance. You know, like, everyone seems to get bugs in their game, and they're like, oh, it's unplayable, and stuff like that. Like, well, it's 30 frames per second, this is trash. And then I'm just like, I didn't even know. Like,
yeah, because everyone has a FPS counter in their corner. They're tracking to the T at all times, obviously.
Yeah. This is the first time I've ever noticed it. And
oh, really? Like,
it is awful. This is the worst performing game I have ever seen.
Really? Wait, this game's like 30 fucking years old. How is that possible?
It's a PlayStation 1 remake, right?
Okay.
Well, not even a remake. It's like a remaster.
Sure.
You know, like how they did the Final Fantasy ones, where like they make the people look a bit shinier. And
yeah.
And they add on a few bells and whistles, like you can fast forward, you can skip battles if you want. There are some parts of this game where it runs at less than 10 frames per second.
Oh, damn! And wait, you're playing this on what?
A PS5.
This is really the true next-gen experience that we're looking for.
It's a PS1 game on the PS5, and it is the worst running thing I have ever seen. Now, did you know Digital Foundry?
Mm-hmm.
They did a comparison, right? Because it's come out on PS4, Switch. And the best way to play this, they've said, is on the Switch in handheld mode. Because it uses less screen resolution, it makes it run a bit better. But the PS1 version of the game outperforms them both.
Well, how is it this bad? Like, is it not been fixed yet with like a patch or anything yet? Or
no. So apparently, like, they lost like the game files for this, which is why it's never like been released for so long. So they had to rebuild a lot of it. Now, I'm no game developer, but I would think you can improve on some shit if you're going, we're
I
looking
would
out with
hope.
modern technology,
Hmm.
right? But honestly, there came a point where I got like 3 or 4 hours in, and I legit thought, I don't know if I can carry on playing this. Like, it is,
That is insane. Oh my
yeah.
god.
Well, the thing as well is, there's like input delay as
Hmm.
well. So sometimes just to talk to someone, I have to hit the button like 3 times on the
Did
controller.
did they like not test this?
I have no idea. Because there was legit one part where, like, I'm breaking into a castle, and the
Hmm.
guy, like, you beat a guy, and he says, like, hey, to get into the next room, you've got to hit a secret switch, right?
Hmm.
It's on the second to last pillar on the left. And I'm like, okay. So
Okay.
run to the second last pillar on the left. And I'm hitting it, X. And I'm like, no, right, okay. I'm running around it, hitting X, 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 X. Nothing's happening, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe you meant the left from if you're standing from another. So like,
Make
I
it
run to
extra
the,
confusing.
yeah. And I'm like pressing it. And I'm just running all these pillars in the button, and none of them are working, right?
Hmm.
And I just thought, you know what? I'm not having enough fun with this to keep testing it out and running into a different room to see if it. So I just went on YouTube, right? Looked up like a walkthrough of the game, and it was the first pillar I was hitting.
Uh-huh.
It just weren't
Yeah, like
taking
you
the
were doing
button
it
in.
right. Yeah, you were in the right
Yeah,
place.
yeah. I walk up to like NPCs, and like half the time I don't even know if I'm just not aligned enough to press like talk to them,
Hmm.
or if I've just got to keep hitting X.
That's insane to me. I that's just shocking that because I guess for other Square games that may have been ported over, remastered, or whatever, I'm assuming stuff like this hasn't really happened before, right?
I remember a big one with Final Fantasy IX where everyone freaked out because it used to be when you went into a battle and it
Hmm.
came back, the music would pick up where it left off, but
Hmm.
instead it reset
Yeah.
the beginning of the song. And everyone lost their mind as if like Hitler had just come back to life. And I'm just like,
The worst possible offense.
yeah, they're like, oh, I was going to get it, but now this is like happening. I'm not sure. And I'm just like, I didn't even fucking notice, but okay, whatever.
Right, okay. But like in terms of technical issues, it seems like this
No,
might be the more recent
this is
one.
honestly, mate, the biggest issues I've ever had playing a game, and it's 20 fucking years old.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. And I guess also, is it just this game, or did they also add any other like extra content per se, or anything?
So, so they added something called Radical Dreamers, which was like a text adventure game that I don't think ever left Japan
Oh,
originally, but it's
okay,
linked to the game. So that's kind of cool, right?
okay,
They also remastered the soundtrack.
okay.
Okay. Not in the game though, in the main menu.
Because that's what everyone wants to hear it at.
Yeah, so it plays a random song in the main menu that you can listen to of some of the like best tracks remastered, like full orchestra versions. But when you go into the game, it's just the regular version.
Weird. Cool, I guess.
Yeah. No, not really, because you go, oh wow, this sounds great, and then you go in the game, it's like,
The contrast, I'm sure, is jarring.
yeah.
Uh, that's so weird. So, I mean, at this point, though, it's pretty much just a done deal for you, or like, do you like even if they fix it, would you then go back, or are you just like screw it that there's no point anymore?
I mean, I kind of pushed through because like I know it's a bit of a cult classic, and I'm just like, come on, let's see. Like I googled like, are they going to fix this? There's no sign of a patch or anything.
Yeah.
I'm like 12, 13 hours into it,
Hmm.
but like it's been a drag, and like I I would be a bit more inclined to really finish it if I
Hmm.
was enjoying the overall game a lot more as well. But honestly,
Okay.
it's a pretty basic JRPG. Like the
Hmm.
big thing, a selling point of it is there's like 50 party members you can get.
Okay.
Like you can get like a huge group of people. But what I like about JRPGs is the sense of a group of going on an adventure, like
Like
a
a tight
small
knit
drag.
group.
Yeah. But most, like, you just walk up to people in like a shop and they're like, oh, do you want me to come with you?
I just met you.
Yeah. And you're like, they're like, I hate people. Let's go kill them. And you go, yeah, come join me. And then it's like, Tom's joined your gang. and then
All right,
and then
cool.
they contribute nothing like to the story. So it
So I
kind of
guess, well, I guess as far as the overall gameplay, though, but it sounds like though it's probably reminiscent of those older JRPGs, or would you say it's any better or worse? I mean, it sounds like it's about what you expected in that sense, or
I find it hard to tell because of the slowdown and stuff.
okay, yeah,
It makes all the battles drag on, like,
okay,
and the input delay. Sometimes you're hitting twice just to make an attack.
yeah.
Um, so I'm struggling with it in that sense. Like, it's making battles not fun. Whereas, yet again, I went onto YouTube, watched old PS1 footage, and the
Uh-huh.
battle seems to flow a lot better
Yeah.
because it just runs that little bit better.
Okay, gotcha. So I mean, at
Yeah.
this rate, though, even though you've been powering through it, do you think you still will, or do you think you're gonna like succumb to it here in a little bit and just say, "Nah, I'm done"? Because I mean,
I've
well,
had
how long of a game is it? I guess. Sorry.
I think I googled it. It's like 30 hours,
Okay.
30 hours to beat it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I Part of me is like every time I've played it, I've kind of had to force myself because I knew
Right.
I was going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But everything I've talked about, I could have summed up in the first hour. So I played for
Exactly.
another like 12 for no fucking reason. Um,
That's a rough one. Yeah, it's so tough because like you want to experience a classic game and you're clearly invested, but like what a horrible first experience to have.
yeah, and it's not like it's. I'm not excusing Cyberpunk, but you know, you saw all those videos and you're like, well, they're trying to do something that's just not possible on this hardware.
Yeah,
Whereas I
sure.
look at this and I'm like, iPhones could run this thing, I'm sure. Like,
Right, there's no excuse for
no.
this at all.
Like, and you're going to get people who go, oh, well, like, actually, you're not a developer, so you don't understand. And, like, I need to understand. PS1, PS5, it's better. It should run it better.
Well, even regardless of that, the game clearly is broken. Like regardless of
Yeah.
how old or new it is, it's just literally trying to
hmm
play it as a game. It's just broken and they shipped a broken, defective, clearly defective product and that's fucked up also.
Yeah, I think, like, I thought, oh, you know, it's like only $15 or something. I was like, oh, that ain't bad. And then I'm like, oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah,
Oh man. Well, that's unfortunate to hear. That
yeah.
sucks.
So I'm going to give it a thumbs down at the
You don't
moment.
say.
Yeah. Don't buy it. If they patch it, then reward them for doing something good. But in the meantime, don't buy this.
Ugh, man, that's a shame. All right, well, keep me posted if it ends up getting patched, or if you actually end up finishing it, because I'd be curious to see if it gets better. But that's a shame.
Yeah. Okay, so over to you.
Yeah. So next one is something we've both actually watched, which is Peacemaker TV series. So of course, this is a follow up of sorts to the Suicide Squad movie, and I'm talking about the good one that James Gunn did, not the absolute abomination of the one that came out before that. That once again, like even with the Suicide Squad movie, like they kind of said it was a continuation of sorts of the other movie, but like kind of not really. I don't know if they ever like truly answered it. I don't know, unless I'm like
Yeah,
missing something.
DC is a bit weird at the moment, where you don't know what is in what canon. Right?
It's all the multiverse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Um, but yeah, the Peacemaker was, like I said, a follow up of sorts, and so James Gunn once again did the Suicide Squad movie, and then he also wrote and directed this TV show, centering around Peacemaker, and with John Cena and the cast of characters around him, and then Robert Patrick, of course, was in it. So that was fun to see him, and well, it was fun to see him. The role he played wasn't quite so nice.
I like Robert Patrick. He's a good guy. Don't we got to separate the artist from the art.
Wait, are you telling me he's not a massive white supremacist in real life?
I'm not saying I know him.
Not confirmed.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting TV series because, like, I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't expect it or what. But I knew, like, okay, it's gonna be more of a James Gunn style type of thing. And then personally, I also love John Cena. And I'm not even like the biggest wrestling fan, but like he's just cracks me up, and he's just a goofy dude in like any movie I see him. So I just think he's a funny guy to watch. But
I think
yeah.
it's hilarious how he pretends Taiwan's no longer a country.
Oh, now we're getting political. We're about to get demonetized. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys. He is an interesting character for sure. But yeah, the show was basically just following, kind of him dealing with, to some extent, the aftermath of the Suicide Squad movie, but then also trying to reconnect to some extent with his father, Robert Patrick, who he plays, and then going on more missions with that kind of group with Amanda Waller, who like oversaw the Suicide Squad, but now she's like still overseeing his missions and stuff like that. But yeah, so it was action comedy type of typical James Gunn story, I would say. So I mean, just in general, though, I guess did you like the Suicide Squad as well? And then
yeah,
did it make like did you anticipate like, yeah, you'd probably like this show too?
yeah. No, I hated the first Suicide Squad movie. I
Hmm.
loved the second one. I thought it was great. I thought
Hmm.
James Gunn did a great job. And then I'd say I enjoyed this just as equally
Hmm.
as I did the Suicide Squad
Yeah.
movie. I just love how it seems so cliche because I feel like you say about so much stuff now, but like how
Mm.
it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Oh yeah.
It is just got idiots in it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very it's weird to say it is down to earth, even though there's like literally superheroes and like aliens and shit going on, but
mhm.
they treat it, and I think that's where James Gunn is really good at what he does, because I mean he obviously did, like, he did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which everyone generally loved, and then this new Suicide Squad movie, and he has a funny way about his scripts that he does. And also,
Mhm.
so what a lot of people don't realize, especially if like all they know is the superhero movies, like the Marvel and DC stuff, James Gunn did a decent amount of movies before that. And I don't know if you've ever seen a movie, one of his earliest movies called Slither. Have you seen that?
No, no.
So that is a horror comedy movie that's, like I said, it's one of the first movies he did, or very early on in his career when he started getting more popular. But it's really funny having watched Slither because, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but all I'm going to say is the ending of Peacemaker, like the last episode where they go against the main, I don't even know if I want to say villain
Threat.
per se, threat. Yeah. That thing is very reminiscent of something from Slither in terms of like the gore and the creatures and the guts and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I see the connection all the way back to that movie, which I thought was really funny. And you can even tell like that type of humor of blending like kind of the gore, not horror per se, in Peacemaker, because it's not a horror, but like the blood and guts, but the comedy and stuff like that. So it was just funny to kind of see that connection in terms of his career as well, which I thought was nice.
I do like that every one of these movies, everyone's just a massive 80s music fan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just
Yeah,
coincidentally, huh?
yeah. And like the opening to this is
Oh,
awesome.
yes.
I never once skipped it.
Yeah, we watched it every single time. Yeah, for anyone who hasn't, even if you haven't seen the show yet, I think they put the intro, on YouTube for everyone to watch just officially. Yeah, the intro is like this choreographed, uh, just dance number, and everyone is like having like in perfect synchronization with each other and having these like stunts and stuff going on. It is so damn funny.
Yeah,
Oh my god. Yeah, they did a
yeah.
great
I
job.
I I thought that was just that alone was hilarious every episode.
Yeah,
But I tell you who I really liked was
mhm.
oh, what was his name? The guy in the green suit,
uh,
Vigilante.
uh, Wait, Judo Master or Vigilante?
Vigilante,
Okay, yeah,
Vigilante.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was like in the dark green type thing.
Yeah,
He,
that
he
dude cracked me up. Yeah.
yeah, he was great. He was like super. I could easily watch another season with him in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's basically like, not that John Cena isn't comedic, but he's very much like another comedic sidekick type of person, but he's just always doing all sorts of weird shit in the show and just cracking jokes, but like a complete idiot basically at times. Dude, like he's this deadly assassin, but he's also just this most oblivious idiot on the planet as well. And yeah, that was pretty funny. But then the other character, Judo Master, who's basically this like 14-year-old kid or maybe even younger, but he's just destroying people and like snapping
Yeah.
necks and then he's just hanging out like there's nothing wrong. And yeah, it's just this weird goofy cast of characters. And once again, I feel like James Gunn does, he speaking of like having a tight knit group like you were saying with the last game, he's good about that dynamic of like a small group like becoming friends and like going on a journey type of thing. I think he does that very well.
Yeah, he also does it well where you can tell they're friends even though they're not all getting along all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because in
Mm-hmm.
most shows, someone has one argument and then that's it, they've like fell out.
Right.
Whereas in reality, you can call your friend an asshole and like you're still talking to him 5 minutes later.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And once again, it is very down to earth, and it's not like, at least for the parts that are real, I guess I'll say it's not overly dramatic per se in that sense. And yeah, people can kind of get along. Also, randomly, I don't know, I randomly stumbled upon this the other day. I didn't realize. Do you know who James Gunn's wife is?
Well, he was married to the lady from The Office, Jenna Fisher.
Well, I guess I
Yeah,
don't know that. That may have been true,
but
but
I
current
know he
wife.
got engaged to the lady in this, the
Yeah.
one who's like the head of the operation, the blonde one.
Yeah, Harcourt.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that I just randomly happened to see that the other day, and I'm like, oh, that must be weird to like have to direct your wife on a TV show.
Well, I think I told you once about that movie, This Is 40, which
Oh,
is directed by
Judd
is it
Apatow.
Judd
Yeah, yeah,
Apatow,
yeah,
and he's married to Leslie Mann,
yeah. Exactly.
who's the wife in it, and their two kids are in it. But Paul Rudd plays the dad, so he was
Yeah.
effectively just filming Paul Rudd
Right.
coming into his house and acting as him.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But either way, she did a great job as well too. I just thought it was funny. But yeah,
Hmm.
overall, I mean, it's only what, like 8 episodes long, so, and they're 30, 45 minutes, something like that per episode. But yeah, they're like, every episode I had a blast watching. It was funny. It was definitely good special effects, especially when it gets more into the crazy like battles and gore and stuff. I thought it was a neat idea as well, just kind of the bit of a twist reveal, so to speak, of like what's going on. I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. Didn't necessarily see that coming. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, they seemingly leave it open for a second season, and I think you even said they did confirm a second season, or no?
I can't remember. I can't
Okay,
remember.
maybe I was talking to someone else that they maybe confirmed it, or at least at a minimum they'd like to do it, but maybe with
Hmm.
schedules and stuff, maybe it's just going to be difficult.
I know
But
they're making another spin-off of it. I don't know if they're doing a Peacemaker season 2.
oh, like a spin-off of Suicide Squad or a spin-off of this spin-off, I guess.
Wouldn't surprise me if they're doing both at this point.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
they're trying to a lot here, but oh, and I guess once again, not going to spoil anything, but also in the last episode, there are some appearances by people that I was not expecting,
Yeah.
that kind of talked to them, and I was like, oh, okay, some characters you may or may not know, um, appearing, which I was like, oh, that's a nice way to like, like we were saying a second ago, DC is kind of doing whatever the hell they want with connectivity, but it is
Hmm.
nice every once in a while when they like kind of acknowledge that this is happening. And I guess to be fair to that, even in this show, Peacemaker just shits all over Batman and Superman. Like,
Yeah.
like he's just cracking jokes about them. And so it seems like DC kind of, I think, gave James Gunn just do whatever you want, have a fun time with it, and I think it shows. Like it's just a fun show, doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think anyone would have a good time watching it, even if you're not like a superhero fan per se. It's just a fun like action show, basically.
So 2 thumbs up.
I would definitely say for very much so a thumbs up. Two
Okay.
two for me for sure.
Oh wow, 3 thumbs.
Yeah, three thumbs up, 3 out of 1 thumbs.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
a first
definitely.
on this show.
Yeah, look, we're trying to break the mold on our rating systems here and get more and more
Yeah.
unusual and convoluted. So yeah, definitely would highly recommend it. All
Nice.
right. So speaking of TV shows, back to you.
So I watched the Pentaverate, which it's the first like Mike Myers thing in like 15 years, which
Yeah,
is like
seriously.
crazy. He sort of disappeared,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird that it hasn't been a bigger deal. Because like, Austin Powers was huge back in the day.
Oh yeah, and I think I told you I just recently rewatched them, and I'm still laughing my ass off every time I
Yeah,
watch them.
I rewatched the first one on a plane like a year or two ago,
Hmm.
and like especially with like the Me Too movement we had a few years back, it's like oddly like very relevant still.
A little bit.
Like essentially, like this is like back in what was the first one, like 99, 2000?
I honestly might be like 97 or 98, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
and it's like he's an out of touch like dinosaur, and
Hmm.
like that's not the way men are in this day and age, which is kind of hilarious that 25 years later, like that's still kind of the case.
Yeah, oddly enough, yes.
Yeah. Um. So, have you ever seen the Mike Myers movie? So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I've seen clips of it, but I haven't watched it in full.
So in that movie, Mike Myers plays his own father. As we
Okay.
know, he likes to play multiple characters, and his dad and his mum in the movie are like Scottish immigrants who are like
Hmm.
really into conspiracy theories, right?
Why does he always
This
play
mo-
Scottish accents? Sorry, I have to ask. It's like Shrek, this, the fat bastard from Austin Powers.
well, his dad is originally from the UK, Mike Myers.
Oh, okay, that makes
So he
sense then.
grew up with like a lot of British comedy and stuff like that.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Um, so yeah, his mum's like really into like the National Enquirer type magazines. Like they're like big conspiracy
Yeah,
theorists.
yeah.
Which yet again oddly relevant in this day and
Right,
age.
yeah. Maybe Mike Myers was ahead of the curve here.
Yeah, but his dad is just like this rambling like crazy Scotsman.
Hmm.
And in the movie, he starts ranting about how there is an organization that run the world called the Pentaverate.
All right.
And he's like, oh, it's the royal family, the Kennedys, and Colonel Sanders.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right. But
All
then
right.
he's made a show based on the Pentaverate, like 25 years later.
Oh, so wait, is it like connected to that movie or
No, like other than the fact that his dad rambles about it in the So I Married an Axe Murderer. Like that's the only
interesting?
connection.
Okay.
Whether the Colonel makes an appearance or not, I'll leave that up to
All right, fair
people
enough.
who watch it. But the Pentaverate is like a secret organization that actually rule the world. They make all the
Okay.
decisions. It was founded back during the Black Plague
Mhm.
to fix that, and it's made up of five guys, four of which are played by Mike Myers.
Of course.
Um, Lord Lordington, who's like an English,
Great name.
um, like an old English lord. There's a guy called Mishu who is a Russian, and he's essentially what's his name? The Russian guy with the beard, Rasputin.
Rasputin. Okay.
It's essentially him.
Hmm.
He plays an Australian guy who's meant to essentially be Rupert Murdoch.
Okay.
Um, and then the fourth guy is a guy called Shep, who is actually based on a real person who managed Alice Cooper.
Nice.
Yeah, so Shep Gordon is a real person who's friends with Mike Myers, and
Oh, okay.
he's just like a famous like entertainment manager.
Well, I'm not surprised because in the first Wayne's World movie, if I'm not mistaken, Alice Cooper shows up, and I'm sure they became friends with after that, and I'm sure they got connected through that. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of that correctly.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly because I listened to a Mike Myers interview a few years back where he did on the Mark Maron podcast.
Hmm.
That's exactly what happened. Is
Oh,
they
okay.
became friends after that, and like Shep Gordon's like famously barely takes a wage. He just really likes looking out for people.
Nice.
Like bands, he's helped them win back their back catalogue for no money. He's like
Damn.
apparently just a really nice guy. He's like friends with the Dalai Lama, and
Wow. Good for him.
yeah, yeah. So it's just hilarious that he's in this Pentaverate. They're not
For
the
some reason.
they're not the Illuminati because the Illuminati also exists, but as Lord Lordington says, they're not taken seriously because Beyonce and Jay-Z are members.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, um, it's mildly amusing. It is mildly.
Hmm.
It's not Austin Powers level of hilarious.
Yeah.
Some of Mike Myers' comedy is still sort of stuck back in the '90s poop
Hmm.
jokes. It's not. The funniest thing I found was every scene set in Canada is in standard definition and 4:3.
What? Why?
Because Canada's fuzzy apparently. And
That, oh, that's just such an oddly specific thing. Why would he do that?
yeah, but then that's it. It's every other scene's like HD, like Dolby Vision.
What the fuck?
It's quite funny. So
All right.
it's like a news anchor, not a news anchor, like a news guy called Ken, who does like those fluff pieces you see on the
Mm-hmm.
news, where it's like, oh, here's like a deer that broke its foot, and like someone nursed it back to health,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting fired, and he's like, right, I've got to do something here to get my job back, get a big story. So he
Mm-hmm.
goes to the Canadian conspiracy convention called CanConCon. And that's where he starts learning about the Pentaverate. Uh, it is funny. The biggest issue I have with it is that Mike Myers plays too many characters.
He just can't help himself.
Right, but like when he did it in Austin Powers, like Doctor Evil and Austin Powers never actually had many scenes together.
Right.
Like Doctor Evil would be in his lair and bouncing off other actors, and it felt
Mm-hmm.
more natural.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of these scenes are similar to those scenes where it's the Pentaverate sitting in a room around a big table, but it's just Mike Myers playing off himself, and there's not that natural back and forth, or like
Right.
actors laughing together, like the joke in Austin Powers about the Irish guy who has the charms and they all find
Yeah.
that funny, right? But what's funny about that is how everyone in the room is slowly cracking up one after the other, and you can tell
Yeah.
that actors are playing off each other.
Exactly.
And I think it would have been better if he had just got like two or three more like comedic actors to come in and play maybe some of the roles, because it just doesn't have a natural flow. Like, I don't know if you ever watched that series of Arrested Development that was all on green screen.
I've seen parts of Arrested Development. I haven't seen like all of it, but
Yeah. When it came back, they just couldn't get all the actors together. And it just ruined the
okay.
flow of conversations because you could tell it had been filmed like a
Mm.
month apart.
Yeah, it's really weird with Mike Myers. Like I have no doubt that he's obviously talented and he wants to try and keep flexing his like different acting skills and accents and all sorts of stuff. But like at some point, I feel like you got to have other people help you out. I mean, I don't know what it is, why it's like a compulsion for him where he just has to play all
Well,
these characters.
it's weird because there are some other comedy actors like Ken Jeong from The Hangover.
Hmm.
He's in it. Um, Not Jordan Peele, Keegan Michael Key.
Yeah. Hmm.
He's in it as well. Jennifer Saunders. Like, so he's got comedic actors there. I just think he could have done with a few extra ones to come in and maybe
Okay.
even play characters or just have him bounce off them. But that is the big. At the end of the day, it is a mildly amusing show. Is it anything you need to go watch right away? No. Is it as
Mm.
great as Austin Powers? No. Is it awful like a lot of 90s, early 2000s comedian movies are in this day and age? No. Like,
Hmm.
I was a bit worried it was going to be embarrassing,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
Hmm.
Um, so I'd give it a small thumbs up if you enjoy
Hmm.
like that Mike Myers type of comedy.
Hmm.
I, it's nothing you need to rush out to watch.
Yeah. And how long is it roughly?
6 episodes, and they're like
Okay. And it
25, 30 minutes each.
okay. And it's already all 6 episodes and that's it, or there's more coming
Yeah,
after that.
no,
Ah,
no.
okay.
I mean, the way it ends, I can't imagine they're going to do a second season.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like given similar to you, where I like those older, Mike Myers or of that similar cast, like or type of people, those types of older movies. I feel like I would probably want to check this out just to see it, um, to see how it goes. But yeah, I totally get what you mean because like we were saying a second ago, even with Austin Powers, like yeah, that one still holds up, but it's one of those cases where it's very much of that time. And I think, like, to somewhat what you're saying is like if you then try and bring some of that forward, it for whatever reason, like it doesn't quite hit the same, and that's kind of
yeah,
unfortunate. And that's honestly why I wonder, like, as much as I would love another Austin Powers movie, I'm trying to think if they made one now, is that just a bad idea no matter what? I don't know. I'm on the fence about it.
Do you want my fan fiction?
I think you've told it to me before, but
Yeah.
but please go ahead. Yes.
Which is they should have Austin Powers 4 where like he saves the world at the beginning of the movie again,
Hmm.
like beats Doctor Evil, and then it should just be Doctor Evil like purchases like a media company
Hmm.
and essentially Me Too's Austin Powers.
Yeah, there we go. Yes.
And that, like he's like reputation. Even though he saved the world 50 times, like no one likes him. He gets yelled at in public and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So then he teams up with like because Austin Powers originally was making fun of like the old-fashioned James Bond.
Uh-huh.
Have him team up with like your Daniel Craig James Bond to like try and get his reputation back.
I feel like they could. That would be hilarious as well. I wonder if they could also go like almost meta with it, where because in the original ones, of course, he time travels back to like the 60s and 70s, right? And I feel like if they made one now, he could time travel back to like the late 90s and early 2000s and make this like really weird like meta commentary about how that when like that movie came out and get really stupid with it. But I don't know if that would just be too ridiculous at that point.
You wanna feel old?
Sure.
We're about as far away from the original Austin Powers as that film was from the '60s.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, like I remember seeing it in theaters. Like I very much remember seeing it, and I say that because there were some scenes that I went with one of my parents, and there were a couple times I was like, "Ugh," even as a kid, like, "Oh, no, I don't know if I should be watching this." But yeah, yeah, I very much feel old now. Thank you, I appreciate it.
no problem.
But yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I'm sure I'll still enjoy it just to see Mike Myers again because he's just a fun actor.
Yeah. Okay,
All
so
right.
over to you again.
All right. So for the last one today, as I said, it's going to be something that I've been reading. So here I got Death Note. Wait, oh, there we go. Maybe I think it's a little glare. All right,
Yeah.
Death Note short stories that just came out
And you're
this
going to
past
read it
week.
to us, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes. So get your tea ready, light some candles. I'm going to be reading. Just sit back and relax to my soothing voice here. So, what do you know about Death Note?
So the original Death Note stars Willem Dafoe and was on Netflix, right?
All right, I'm out. I'm done.
No. So I know it was a manga first, I believe, and it was like became a very popular anime.
Hmm.
As I understand it, it's a guy who has a book that any name he writes in it, the person dies. That's all. That's all I know.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, that's basically the central premise. But yeah, so started out as a manga series, and I have all of them behind me. What is there? I think 12. Well, technically 13 volumes, which had some extra stuff in it. But it was a relatively shorter series because so it was from Shonen Jump, which is like the big main like ongoing manga company in Japan. You know, they're the ones who have done like Naruto and like Bleach and all sorts of the like One Piece, like you know the big popular series basically that have
I've
been going
heard
on.
of them.
Yes. Yes, at least, and to be fair, I haven't even read some of those because the problem is a lot of those literally went on, and One Piece is fucking still going on 1,000 chapters later. The shit's never going to end. Like, that's why I don't read One Piece, and I will never read it because it's pointless. Like, why would I subject myself to just to do that? It's ridiculous. So
Weren't you suggesting I watch all of Star Trek last week?
okay, but like that at least like you can do in series chunks. I like those have finite ends. One Piece has been going on for like 30 years. Like the
Oh
same
wow.
series 30 years rough. It's like 25 or 30 years. As a anime and the manga itself. And I'm like this is like why it's pointless. But to be fair, yes, I get it with Star Trek as a franchise, but just the one series has not ended, which is ridiculous. Um so Death Note, when that came out, like I said, it was only 12 or 13 volumes. And I mean, each one, I mean, you know, it's like that big, but to be honest, you can finish a volume in like an hour. So they're not like super long to read. But it became super popular. It's still widely considered like one of the best Shonen Jump series of all time. And yeah, I mean, the idea is that you have this death god comes in gives this notebook to a kid who's in like high school age in Japan, and if you write a name in, they'll die, and there's a whole bunch of rules that go along with it. And at first, he uses it to essentially punish people he doesn't like, but then it quickly goes out of control where he starts just killing people, but he kills criminals is where he focuses on. So he believes he's justified in his approach where, oh, I'm just taking out the bad guys. But that's where the conflict comes in, where the police are like, look, yes, you might be doing this, but you're still a murderer. But he's anonymous, of course, the whole time. Like he can't be caught. And then it just becomes this like crazy like detective case, basically, of like, can this really good detective find out who's doing it? And but of course it's supernatural and all this sort of stuff. So I won't spoil the ending of Death Note, but it's like, I know you say you didn't watch anime or read maybe manga or anything like that, but eventually they turned it into an anime series. And if I would recommend any
Hmm.
kind of starter anime that I think you would like, Death Note I think would be that one. I would highly recommend it. I feel like you would really enjoy the story personally.
Okay.
So anyways, that ended. The manga and then the anime was like, shit. I think my freshman year of college is when it kind of came out and ended, and it became super popular. And then over the years in Japan, they did some live action movies, and then they did. And those honestly weren't that great. And funny enough, they actually did a live action TV series in Japan, which was really good, surprisingly. So I would highly recommend that. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Netflix decided to just shit all over it and make their version. Which, to be fair, I will say, okay, if you truly like Death Note, the Netflix movie will make you want to die because it's just so awfully adapted of like how horrible it is. However, if you approach it as like a B movie that was made as a joke and like just like how far off the wall can you take it from the source material, then I was like, okay, it's kind of funny from that perspective. And yeah, they got Willem Dafoe to voice the Death God in it, which I thought was pretty funny.
I like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I mean, he did a great job as that character. So like, so wait, sorry, did you see that movie or no?
No, no. I saw like the trailers and I saw everyone freaking out over it. And like,
Okay.
if I was gonna ever watch Death Note, I would go to the anime probably.
Yeah, highly recommend. But like I said, if you want to just laugh and just look at how absurd like American adaptations of anime go, then that's the key example. And apparently Netflix has done this like five more times with other anime, and every time it goes terribly. But and yet they've announced like they're doing it with five more different shows. So I don't know why they keep doing it, but clearly people are watching it. So whatever.
The algorithm says people want it.
So we're gonna give it to them. I don't care how
Yeah.
shitty it is. So, anyways, now that I've gotten all that out of the way in terms of just a quick synopsis of Death Note, so then, like I said, this came out, and this is a so it's called Short Stories because it's a compilation of like I think it's technically four or five ish stories, but basically what this is over the years after the original series ended, the author and the artist occasionally did like little mini kind of side stories and follow-ups, but they were only released in Japan. And so over the last, I guess, 7, 8, 9 years, maybe a little bit more, that's happened where they've done like little mini short chapters, like in the Japanese Shonen Jump magazine that comes out like once a month or whatever. But they were never officially translated. But finally, funny enough, they came out with another one last year, and they decided like, look, enough of these have come out that let's do it like an official American release. So all of those side stories, mini sequels, and stuff like that have now finally been compiled into an English release, and basically that's what this is. So in some cases, it involves the original characters from that original run, but then in other cases, they're once again without spoiling. Let's just say new characters are involved that did not appear in the
Mm.
previous series, but it continues it in a sort basically. So I know a lot of people have kind of said they've wanted sequels to Death Note, and they always want to say like what's going to keep happening after that. And this is basically as close as people are going to get to that without like a full fledged sequel, basically. Because yeah, once again, this whole thing you can read in like an hour, and there's like four or five like little mini stories. So I wouldn't say it's like a massive sequel per se, but does technically some of these stories take place after the original run. So
Mm.
but overall, though, I would say if you're a fan of Death Note, then you're gonna like this because it's more of that. So if you like that story, I will say I was not expecting that a certain American politician was going to appear in this as part of one of the stories. I'm not going to say who it is, and they don't technically call him by name, but you take
Well, I
about
know
one.
who it is now.
I'll after we're done with this call, I'll just show you a picture of it if you want, and I think you'll get the hint of who it is.
I've
What
already
could go
got the
wrong?
hint now.
Yes, I think you know. And I
Yeah.
was like, I can't. Like on one hand, I'm like, I can't believe they went there, but on the other hand, I'm like, this is kind of funny that they went there. I was not expecting
Well,
that.
Japan are like a lot more happy to like mess with depictions of real people.
Hmm.
Like I think it's like the second time I've talked about Hitler in this show.
Just
Um,
once an episode, we're just gonna have to mention him clearly.
but he's the bad guy in like one of the Persona games.
Yeah, I believe he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like a lot of their older games in Japan, like set in medieval times, a lot of the time they use real people and they take
Hmm.
liberties with it, like
Yeah,
how they're
exactly.
depicted.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I guess I'm used to that because it was for people in the past, but let's just say the Japanese run of one of these short stories came out during the term of that particular politician. Like he was still in office. And I'm like that's why I'm like, huh, interesting. So not that it gets like super political per se, but there are. I mean that is part of the intrigue of the Death Note in general. Is that it is the like the moral ramifications, of course, of having this kind of godlike ability, but also there is political implications of like what if a government got hold of this? How would they use it and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
so this one is, I will say, once again, if you've read Death Note before, then 100% thumbs up, recommend it. I think this is a no-brainer if you're a fan of the series. However, like for you, if you've never seen this or read this before, then I would not start with this because it essentially spoils the ending of the main series. So for anyone out there who hasn't read Death Note, do not start with this. But definitely, if you've read Death Note and you want more of that, absolutely pick this up. So
So thumbs up.
absolutely thumbs up. And yes, I whenever the day comes that you watch Death Note, then I will be happy to discuss it because it's a good one for sure.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I think that's it for today. Talked about all sorts of different stuff, watching and reading and playing. So, as always, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and subscribe. Put some comments down below about what you think about some of these. If you're a Death Note fan, let me know how you felt about what he did, but without spoiling anything.
Who do you want to see Mike Myers play next?
How many characters do you want him to see him play in the next series? 15? 20? I would love to see even more. But
Hmm.
yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter as well, Tojo Dojo. And yeah, we'll be back in a week or so with the next one. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.